Go. Okay. Great. And now I'll hand over to Jessica. Over to you.
Thank you, Beth. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad we were all able to watch Rocks. It was such a beautiful film. My name is Jessica Mensah, and I'm a director and also the chair for Purple Moon Drama's Digital Youth Board. And today I shall be your host for this Q&A on Rocks. Rocks was programmed as part of Poplar Union's Women in Focus Festival, which focuses on the work created by women in the arts in celebration of International Women's Day on the 8th of March, which is tomorrow. Today we are joined by a wonderful panel of women from Purple Moon's Drama's Digital Youth Board. And just a reminder as well, if you have any questions as we go through this Q&A, please feel free to type them in the chat and we shall respond to them during the process of this. So I'm just going to introduce our panelists for today. We have the lovely Aaliyah McKay. Aaliyah McKay is an actor, writer and director on theatre and screen. We have Naomi Denny, who's also an actor and writer, and Layla Jalai, who's an actor and writer and producer. Joining me today. How are you all doing?
Good.
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 I'm feeling the emotions after watching that. That's why.
I'm a bit shell shocked. I feel like I'm like Beth. I kind of forgot, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay, I need a moment.
I need a moment. There's a lot going on there. So we're going to just start with your initial responses. So, what did you think about the film? Or were there any characters that you would say were your favourites? Just tell me any open questions.
This is the second time I've watched it, and I just thought, wow, like it's so powerful, and I've got that goosebump feeling like all over. So, but I know I loved it, and I thought, God, like, you know, at that age, I just thought the acting was superb, and it was almost like, you know, we were looking into their life and this whole situation she was in, and I just wanted to hug her. That's all. Yeah. Give her a big hug and say it's gonna. It's good, really, really good film.
Really good film. Aaliyah?
I think firstly I'd just say that it's really like quite a breath of fresh air to see a friendship group that's so like diverse and full of different backgrounds. Thought like the film portrayed an excellent representation of the culture in London and London schools, as well as I kind of felt like it's a lot to do with second generation kids as well. So I feel like a lot of them, their parents probably came over here to start a new life at home to the London culture as well, which is really completely what London is about. You'll get to see a bit of everyone. So that's one thing that I really loved about the film, as well as the whole story. I also really loved the idea of how much they portrayed the East African culture. I feel like that's something that we don't see a lot in films right now, which we see so much more of. It was so beautiful to see Sameer's family and, you know, the house and how it was decorated in their culture. So I feel like, visuals was my favorite.
That's cool. And Naomi, what about you?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Like, I think it's one of those films that, like, I said to you guys the other day, like, I didn't know what to expect when I first watched it, and then I watched it and I was like, this is like, I'm sort of the same as you, Aaliyah, in terms of one of the things that was really kind of stood out to me is like, whenever you see a film usually about, you know, kids in school, a lot of the time they're so like polished. The kids uniforms are always perfect, and their, you know, their friendship group, no one argues in their friendship group, and if they do, then it's a big thing. And what was really kind of refreshing about it was the fact that this group of girls, their friendship was really real. Like, when you had sort of these kind of characters, and like Agnes, the fact that they were like, well, she was like, I don't really like her, but like, she's in our group, so I've kind of got to be friends with her. And it was kind of that whole thing. And I was like, that's so relatable, especially at that age. You know, this is my friendship group. And so that was one thing that I really loved, I think, more than anything, was just like a realistic portrayal of a school and school friendships and groups and that sort of thing, and how kind of sometimes they're really messy. And that was kind of really refreshing as well. So yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Amazing. Even on that, I think, because I think actually Layla talked about how powerful the film is, because I think Rox as a character, I guess we can all agree, is like how much responsibility she had while she was also balancing school. And it was just a lot to sort of see that, okay, a young lady or even a young Black woman is just having to deal with that, like juggling with her mum's mental health and also her own school and studies. And I just wanted to know whether any of you could ever resonate with the story, or even if it's not just Rox's struggle that went through, but any of the characters or issues that were portrayed in the film. If there's anything that resonated with you that you'd like to talk about as well, you can take the time.
I think in terms of her struggle, I think that in terms of, there are certain things that I definitely can resonate with in terms of other characters kind of sitting there and kind of going, you know, if your friend comes to you with an issue and you're too young to understand what's going on, or not that sounds really patronizing, not understand, but just like know what to do. Like that's a really tough situation to kind of be in. And kind of I think what this film does really well is it kind of, you can see the points of view, like every character is flawed in some way, and you can see the sort of struggles that every single character is going through. And I think it is about Rox, obviously, but it's not just about her. It's about kind of all of these different characters and how every single character has a different thing that they're going through. And I think that's so accurate as to that age as well. There's always something going on, I feel like. And so yeah, that's that. I don't know, that I found really kind of, I think I could definitely relate to in that.
Yeah, I think also growing up with that sisterhood and having that, you know, finding your identity at that young age. You don't know what identity is at that age, but you know through your sisters, you know through the people that you grew up with. And that really resonated with me, because I didn't find that sisterhood until I was 16. So when I saw that, you know, through the characters who we, age doesn't matter, but the fact that you find it so young, I just think that's amazing, because I wish that I had when I was younger, when I was growing up. And they are all there for each other. And, you know, through thick and thin, Samaya is just like Rox's rock, you know, like she is.
Yeah, she is, yeah.
And that's what I loved. I think Samaya was like one of my favorite characters, because also seeing their journey and their relationship through the good and the bad times.
Yeah.
Definitely related to the film. Like, I went to a girls' school, so watching that film just reminded me of the good old days, I suppose, just the carefree and just the times of just being in and out, girls all the time. And it's really fun. I feel like we all knew a Roche. I mean, I definitely did. So, you know, that feisty one that's come from a different school. There's like all this whole stigma of, oh yeah, she came from that school and, you know, she got kicked out, so she's like hard now. Her character, surprisingly, I didn't think I would at first, but after watching it a second time, I kind of got a grasp of her, and you kind of feel like she's super misunderstood as well. Like, I feel like if you was to really go down her avenue of her life, like it's probably stemmed from the fact that she's got a stepmom now, and you know, does she like this? I'm not too sure. So is she just lashing out in school because of the family? Like, I feel like each and every one of them have like a story to be told. Maybe.
Shit. And it's interesting you picked up on that, because I think that is nice to realize that the film did, even though some of us might have like our favorite characters we like, or we're like, oh, that character should have done that. Each character sort of had, we got to see a bit of their life and what was going on, which sort of made them who they are. So it's kind of like you couldn't like love or hate, well, you probably maybe have loved one or hated one over the other, but it was just sort of like, you know, I sort of understand where you're coming from. Like, as you said, you understand why Roche was in the situation she was, and why Rox probably took the money, whether that was a good or bad thing. It was a really nice way how they portrayed that. Even on that, sorry, I thought Naomi was going to say something. Even on that as well, I was going to say, did you guys feel like what Agnes did was right or wrong, or what was your views on that when she had to she was attempting to help, but she ended up calling the social workers, and that made Rox feel sort of upset and sort of caused a bit of attention. So what was your views on that situation?
I thought Yeah, absolutely, she did the right thing. I feel like young people thinking that, you know, someone tells on you, they're snaking you, or they don't have your best interest at heart. But I feel like in order for you to really live, you need to have a friend like that that's going to be real. Like, as much as Samaya would say to her, you should tell your mum, to actually act upon it, Rox would have been able to get out of that situation a lot earlier had her friend maybe told her mum like why she was staying over, instead of she's just staying, it's fine. So I feel like Agnes definitely did do the right thing, or else we don't know where Rox and her brother might have ended up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely, like following on from your point earlier, like I think the way that it was, you know, the argument that she had with Samaya, when you're hurt, you push the people closest away to you. And, you know, she wanted to help her so badly, but it just came out wrong. The delivery was wrong, and they were apart for that time. I completely agree. And I think she needed an Agnes, whether she liked it or not. And that was what, for me, that was the turning point, because I bet, you know, afterwards, you know, when they had that conversation, when they were together and, you know, they made up, but, you know, it was like, I had to do that. And I hope you understand that. And they never said it, but it's through the subtext. And that's what I loved. And I think this film definitely like worked hard on all of the subtext, because nothing was said, but you could just tell the conversations that were going to go.
Both touching on that, you sort of always need that kind of friend who will sort of try to support you, even though they're helping you, and what they're doing for you at the moment might not seem right, but it's kind of like it will benefit you in the long run. So that was great to touch on as well. And even with this film, we saw you all talked about how this film reminded you of your sort of primary school, secondary school days. And we saw in the film how Rox started her own sort of business, and it sort of pushes that narrative of entrepreneurship, which I loved as well. I was going to say, were there any sort of scenes like that for you back in secondary? That, what was your secondary school days like? Yeah,
we never started businesses. Like, I've never started a business at school, but we did, like, our school went through a pretty severe like Pokemon trading card season. And I just remember vividly doing this to all like the junior school kids, is we would like trade like our like Pikachus for their like special cards and be like, oh, this is a really good card, honestly. And like that was our version of like entrepreneur ways of doing like Scooby-Doos. Do you remember those like
I remember those, those things, like threads.
Yeah, we all went through phases of doing that. And there was one girl in our year group I went to an all-girls school as well, as not the same school as Leah, but and yeah, there was this one girl who's like crazy good at it. You know how you could do like the normal patterns, and then there's this one kid who's like crazy good and she could just do all of them. So she started selling them, and she had like glitter string as well.
That's good.
I definitely had that in school. I feel like there was always somebody that would get like, you know, like from the pound shop, that pack of £20 Walkers, and just sell to everyone for like 50p during break time, or just during the quick transition through classes. We always had that. And now that I look at it, I feel like, you know, why didn't I do that? Like, it was so thinking, and it was just, like, I feel like little things like that happen. And I almost feel like social media has kind of made it a big thing now for people, like young people, to want to just start a business and, you know, have their life figured out by 20 or something. And it's crazy, because you think at that age, kids should just be kids and just go to school, and just, you know, the most like annoying thing should just be that, you know, your teacher's a bit monotone and you can't be bothered. But so it seems crazy to me that kids would do things like that, but at the same time, they are very much preparing themselves for the real world, and it can only be beneficial to them if they can teach themselves the ways of being an entrepreneur from a young age. Because we know Rox was a makeup artist. Makeup is everything for people these days now. Like, there's so many people doing makeup, and there's so many, like, you can really quite make a killing from being a makeup artist these days. So, it's interesting to see.
And even touching on you guys sort of mentioned how there was a massive sort of theme of sisterhood in the film, and I don't know if anybody else realized, but at the beginning of the film there was a quote on Rox's room that said, "Real queens fix each other's crowns." And as Layla said, we sort of saw that relationship and sisterhood between Sumaya and Rox, even though Rox got angry at her and Sumaya was just like, she just knew she sort of accepted her back in after the hat. And I just wanted to ask whether there are any sort of, I guess, first question being whether you had that real sort of sisterhood when you were growing up, and what sort of woman would you say would have been your role? Who would like to go first? You take your time.
I've got the answer to the first question. I haven't got the answer to
We can go with the first one. We'll go with the first one. We'll go with the first one.
So in terms of, because of the fact that I went to an all girls, I think it was very like, for my school anyway, quite cliquey. It was quite small, quite small school. And so I think for me, like my real kind of like what me and my friends refer to as our wolf packs, though, you know, you look at that sense of sisterhood that they've got at school. And I actually watched that film and I was a bit like jealous. I was like, oh, how did you have that? Like 16, like there's me being like this little angsty emo kid in the corner just being like, no one likes me. And so like for them to have that was just like I really enjoyed watching that. But for me, like I think it has taken and you know, we have this sort of bond now where we kind of like, obviously we can't see each other now, but you know, doing that, seeing each other and, you know, being there for each other and supporting each other is one of those things that we take incredibly seriously. And like, we're like, it takes a lot for someone to be accepted into the wolf pack, but once they're in, they're in. That's all kind of thing.
Yeah, I just think for me, like female figures, someone who I think was, you know, the first person, and that for me was like, you know, that's the woman, these two women in my life, like the best ever. I love them. And, you know, I was like looking in the film, and when she was talking to my grandmother, I wanted to explore that relationship, and I wanted to see, you know, does she have that similar rapport with her own grandmother, because I felt it was a little bit detached. But for me, you know, my grandmother was everything to me. And I think as well, like she taught me, especially when I was growing up and going into, you know, my teenage years, she formed that for me, and I'll always remember her for that. But, you know, as well with sisterhood, you know, as I said, I didn't really find it until much later. I think for me, I really hold on to the female friends in my life, especially the ones who are the realest, the closest ones. And that happened, you know, when I was going into college, and I'm still best friends with these girls to this day. The woman who I am today, and that's, you know, made me have this wonderful network of people around me that I can just call on, you know. And just, you know, as a little offside, but like being part of this, you know, Purple Moon drama as well, I feel like you three girls are like, you know, we haven't
even met yet.
I do love that, just dropping that little thing in there.
Amazing. And
I feel like I have been lucky enough to always have an amazing support system in my mum and my sisters. So I was used to that connection. Like I've got a really close cousin of mine who I love dearly. So I've always had that kind of sisterhood. So going to a girls' school, it was really easy for me to navigate a friendship with different girls because I'd already experienced it. And so now I pretty much, like Layla, I have the same friends and, you know, no new friends. I'm good. Driven and so motivated. Like we're all pretty much in completely different fields of work as well. But one thing that we can all like collide on is the fact that we are so into being the best versions of ourselves, which I think is so important in a friendship group, especially with girls and, you know, social media and insecurities and stuff like that. I just think it's important to you know, as it says, real queens fix each other's crowns. Like, not every day is going to be perfect, but if we can all come together and fix each other's crowns sometimes.
I think one of the things that, like, for just thinking to that, Aaliyah, is like, when you have friends who call you out when you're not doing these, like, in terms of fixing each other's crowns, that's one thing that I really value in my friendships, is like people being like, if they're kind of, I don't know, if I'm doing something that I'm like, oh, I'm probably not going to get this, or like putting yourself down and things like that, like my close friends will just call me out on it and be like, no, we're not doing that. And like that sort of thing is really kind of having those friends who can do that is a wonderful thing. And I think that's another thing that Samaya does in this film, is when she is calling Roxanne, she's like, well, then go, like, leave if you don't want me. I know that it came out wrong and all that sort of thing, but like the fact that they're able to argue and then kind of come back from it is a very kind of refreshing thing as well.
That's good. Thank you. Now, as we're going to open the floor up to any questions from the audiences, I've got one question already, which asks, what do you think the film says about economic disadvantage? Is that question clear? Yep. Okay.
See, I was having this debate with my parents the other day about this film, and I was like, everything that she's going through comes back to money. Is like her mum, you know, her mum being fired in the first place, 2 kids to look after, you know, you're already on the brink. That's going to push you over. Everything that Rox then subsequently goes through, realistically, if her family had more money, her mom had left her whatever, I reckon, you know, if they weren't in a council flat where their neighbors were like next to them, people probably wouldn't have noticed they'd been by themselves for that long. Again, like her being in a flat, then she wouldn't have had to go. All of this is a domino effect. And I just, that's like, it's one of those things where I'm always like, whenever you watch a film like this, you're like, everything's come back to the money and the system and how much the system is rigged. And it's just kind of really kind of, I can't swear, it's really rubbish to kind of look at it in that way. But it's totally true, I think, in this sort of scenario especially.
In this, he needs to survive, and that was what her mother was probably going through before she left. And that fight, you know, you have to look after your brother, you have responsibilities, there's no electricity, there's no gas on the meter, all of these things. But boils down to survival. So I understand why she took the money in the end. I get, you know, for good or for bad reasons. You know, even when the teacher was shouting at her, I was like, why are you shouting at her? And you know, I 100% understood, you know, that is how people live, you know, in real life it happens. And so you know, I just felt like, oh, you do what you have to do to get through this.
It's true. And do you think Rox will be okay, or will her future be affected by her tough start?
No, I think that she will definitely be okay. She's a young Black woman. I feel like a lot of Black women have this, they're born with this independence and stereotype of, you know, being the quote strong one. And I feel like in this instance, it's quite a burden on her to have that name attached to her, because she's just young and she's just trying to, you know, just be a child. But I do think it can come across as a good thing, because then you do just have that installed in you that I can be strong and I can get past this. So I definitely don't think that this will this is where I started, this is not where I'm going to finish, this is not my end.
I hear that. And as we all know as well, this film was created by young people from East London through workshops with the writer as well. And I know all of your creatives, so I wanted to ask sort of actually first question being, how important do you think it is that young people get access to the arts? Bearing in mind that I think Samaya and Rox, this was probably the first time they've ever acted. So I think I can take as a career. So sort of, yeah, how important do you think that is, that young people get that opportunity?
Oh God, it's so important. Like it's not even a question to me, like how important it is, because it's just like, I mean, I think all of us, we're all creatives. Like people always say, like, I remember someone telling me this when I was actually quite young, being like, if you can think of something else to do as a creator, then rather than be a creative, do that. And I was like, so true. But at the same time, kids need to be allowed to do that. Like if I hadn't been given the chance to do some pretty bad performances, mostly in my living room, mostly for my poor long-suffering parents, but like to explore like that and to, you know, experiment with creativity, I would never have known that I wanted to do it as a career. And I think opening up these sort of, I think that's a brilliant way to write a film, because honestly, when I was watching, I'm sorry, I'm getting really passionate. When I was watching that film, I was like, one of the wonderful things about it is that it's so unpolished in a way. Is I was kind of like, oh, you know, the characters, sometimes they stumble over lines, and there's very little like exterior music and that sort of thing, which makes you feel like you're actually watching something real. And because as well, these characters were made by these kids and by the, you know, not just by them obviously, but like with collaboration and stuff, I just think it makes it so real. And if you, and them having that experience is just wonderful. And I just just think it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's super important to allow young people to be creative. I think I even read recently that the young lady who plays Rox has been nominated for Rising Star Awards, I believe it is.
Yes, yeah. I was like, oh, yes.
If that doesn't influence young people, then honestly, I don't know what does, because that was her first role. So that should just show young people that you literally just have to just go for it, especially with the art. It's so like, the arts is so, I don't know how to describe it. It's really much like a no. You're going to get like a million and one no's, and then you're just going to get the yes, and then it's just going to be like, let's go. It's going to be amazing. Not allow yourself to be defeated by the no's, and just, you know, overpower it, and just keep being influenced. Keep watching film. Keep watching theatre. Oh my God, I miss the theatre. I can't even tell you.
We always theatre.
Take me to a theatre show. Yeah, you've got to keep watching theatre and just keeping yourself, keep creating. That's what I'd say as well, especially this year with the, you know, the big C word. Won't say it, but basically. But yeah.
Jessica, could I just I have a question from the audience. Thames is asking, why do you think Rox didn't speak up to teachers or staff within her school, and is there a lesson to be learnt from this?
Oh, question.
No, I think it's definitely a thing about young people. I'd say young people, they, for some reason, you know, you spend most of your time with your friends, so those are definitely going to be the people that you go to. But I feel like one thing that's important, which is something that I experienced in my school, was, you know, having like mentorships and things like that, where you can feel like you can go and just express yourself, and you know that it's not gonna hurt you in any way. You're not gonna feel like they're not supporting you. I felt like the teachers didn't really, except for actually, no, the dance teacher, she came to the house, so there was support there. But you know, I feel like it's important for teachers to put their open arms, like, yes, I'm here to teach you and to educate you, but I'm also here to help you. And if there's something going on, then here I am. Teachers maybe didn't give enough to make her feel comfortable enough to go and speak out and tell them her situation.
Yeah, because I was even going to say with that, don't you think sometimes it might be that, even like, let's say a teacher is still doing what they can, but the child still might not feel comfortable to go to them, or they might just assume they might not understand, especially if you're not from the same culture. So I feel like that might be something that trickles it as well.
I think as well.
Oh yeah, go on, Naomi.
No,
go Naomi, then we'll go. You answered but not asked a question. I'll ask another question from the audience. Go on.
Rox didn't want any grown-ups, any adults to find out about her and Emmanuel's situation, was because she was afraid of them being taken, you know, into care, into social and that sort of thing. And I think, as having worked as a teacher, like when you get told something that a child is kind of in some sort of danger, which Rox is, like she's by herself looking after her very young brother, and so, who is adorable, and so of like her kind of going, I can't go to this person because they will do what I know I should do, but I cannot do. Like it's kind of that whole thing. And like, even, you know, it's, as we've already discussed, like Agnes calling social services was not the wrong thing to do. However, Rox would have, like, she's like, oh, that's the wrong thing to do in my book because that's what I didn't want. So yeah.
And the question we have is, okay, we're going to understanding of the mum's situation. Are we disappointed in her? What are your thoughts and feelings towards that?
Do you know, there was actually a part in the film where I think it's the grandmother who says not every woman can nurture a child. And that was super, like it was just a real serious line that I took with me, because, you know, I feel like when people think about the mother of a child, you just think of like a nurturing woman, caring, cradling her child. And in this instance, I felt like we saw a different kind of mother. Struggle of a single parent household living in poverty in today's society. And I feel like losing your job in general is hard, let alone having 2 children to look after and feed and a house to maintain. So of course that's going to be something that, you know, will trigger with your mental health. But I think that the one thing that could have been portrayed is like the support, because a lot of single mothers, they probably, maybe they don't feel like they have that support or somewhere to, if it came from the school or maybe if it just from the social services, then maybe she wouldn't have felt like the resort was to leave the kids. Whereas I don't think she left the kids because she doesn't love her children. I think it's like sometimes it just, you know, it gets too much, doesn't it? And you just feel like, okay, I'm not doing this motherly job that is, I don't know what the dictionary says it's meant to be. So I need to leave from the situation because they'll be better off, when in actual fact, her presence.
I think there was also a line in it where, you know, to go on from that, Rox says, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I don't swear at my mum like most other kids do. And that for me was out, because then I thought of, well, yes, the mother's left for all these reasons. And it must be so hard because she might not have had that support, as Aaliyah was saying. But, you know, then you think of the mental health of Rox. She left because she went, why? Her head, why did she leave me though? Why? What have I done? I haven't done anything. You know, I've been good. I haven't been rude to her. And I think that, you know, that then would play on, you know, the child's mind 100%. What did I do? I was good.
And like linked to that as well, there's the scene where she's talking with Emmanuel and he goes, why did she leave? And then she says, oh, it was my fault. And then Manny's like, I knew it was your fault. And like, obviously he's a little boy. The fact that he then reinforces that idea to her as well and kind of goes, oh, well, it was your fault, mum. And I think the situation that the mum's in, I think I wish that we'd seen more of what she was going through in a way, because like I wanted to understand, because like me and my dad had a big conversation about this as well, because he was like, he was saying, you know, oh, well, she wouldn't leave, like she just wouldn't leave, like a mum wouldn't leave her children. And I was like, but if her mental health was so terrible that she just couldn't stay, and he just couldn't get his head around it. And I was like, but this is really interesting. This is the whole kind of problem that we're facing in terms of people just think that in a way that mums are indestructible and that they are able to cope with anything. And I feel like single moms, I don't understand how they do it. They're brilliant. And kind of looking at this kind of whole situation, and you're kind of going, what? I want to know more And yeah, I mean, I think for anyone to lead their kids, she must have been going through a hell of a lot. And especially because you also see those parts of the film when she's interacting with the kids, like in the videos and that sort of thing, when she's playing with Emmanuel and that sort of thing. And you can tell she loves her children. So yeah, I don't know, it's a difficult one, but I wanted to know more about. That's the only thing that I wanted to know more about. I was like, what's going on with her?
That's good. And we are coming towards the end of our Q&A session, but I just want to ask if there are any final questions from the audience. No silence. That's fine. But just before we go, I actually just want to ask the panel quickly. And would you say, with everything we talked about mental health and creativity, do you feel like there are support networks out there for you to reach out, whether you're struggling with mental health or whether you feel like, okay, I'm a creative and I don't know where to go? How important are those networks for you as well?
I think in terms of personal things, I think I've definitely got a good support network and that sort of thing. I think one of those creative networks is something I'm still kind of figuring out, and having the board is so useful as well. Kind of like you guys, whenever we're like having these discussions about things and we're like, I don't get it, could someone please tell me how to do this? And I think creative network is so wonderful in that sense. Like Aaliyah and I are both also part of a writing we've got a group chat on that, and there are some times when people are like, I don't know what this, contract means, can someone please explain it to me? And that's so wonderful, is having that sort of creative network where you can go, I don't get it, because none of us really know what we're doing, and kind of just going, someone please help me, and someone will know what to do, because everyone's got different things. And I think that's one thing that actually the Purple Moon Drama Board does really well, is just brings, like, we've all got different strengths in this board. Here's an idea, what can you do with it? And I just think it's brilliant. So yeah, I think
Right, thank you so much, Naomi. Sorry, Leila and Aaliyah, but we're going to have to bring the panel
to a close. I'm really sorry, guys.
It's okay. But thank you so much for your wonderful answers and for your time. And thank you for the audience for joining us during this screening. And thank you to Beth and Poplar Union as well for allowing this event to happen and having us as well. Thank you. I'll hand it over to Beth now.
Thanks so much, Jessica, and all of our wonderful panelists. That was really fantastic. I think, I've got about 1,000 other questions I would love to ask and to pick your brain. So thank you for such an insightful conversation. Just on that point you were talking about resources, I've just posted in the chat a couple of links on Poplar Union's website. We've got a page full of helpful resources, particularly for sort of creatives and this wider community during COVID. And there's a lot of links there for support for artists, and also on our a page for our Black Lives Matter support. There's also a lot of resources there, particularly for artists of colour as well. So do take a look at those. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to all of you for such a great panel and a great conversation, and also a huge thank you to Cheryl, who is the artistic director of Purple Moon Drama, who I know has been watching and helped put this panel together. So thanks so much, Cheryl. As I said at the start, today is the first event of a month of digital shows, workshops, screenings, all in aid of International Women's Day, which is tomorrow. So do check out Women in Focus Festival at poplarunion.com, because that's where you'll find details of how you can book tickets. We've got a load of free activities. Every Friday night we're live streaming gigs from some incredible female artists or female identifying artists. So yeah, check it all out. But thank you once again, and yeah, that's the end. So I hope to see you all soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.